Hey, what's up everybody? It's Victor and welcome back to my channel, Viper View. So today we're going to be doing a quicker review of Oxygen. It's a French film. It's actually Oxygen, I'm guessing. It's by Alexandre, pardon my pronunciation, Aja. Alexandre Aja. The main actress is Melanie, Laurent. So this movie just showed up on my Netflix account and I decided to watch it. The description on the Netflix account didn't really do justice for the movie. I thought it was going to be like a person stuck in a place for a really long time and that's it, but it's much more than that. Based on reviews, it got 88% Rotten Tomatoes and 67% in Metacritic. It's actually a really good movie. So before I give any spoilers or anything, I really do recommend this movie. I think it's really good. I think it's very interesting and I love the way that they handled everything, because as I was watching the movie, I tend to do a lot of mental notes, and I say comments out loud all the time when I'm watching movies. I'm terrible to watch movies with, about things that I consider to be plot holes or errors or things that they haven't explained well or whatever. And I saw that multiple times during the movie. I was like, oh, that doesn't make sense, or that doesn't make sense, or that's stupid, or this and that and that and that. But as the movie went on, all the plot holes and all the plot issues and all the errors that I noticed were actually we're not an error, we're a feature, I guess you could say, and made sense in the context of the film. So it's an interesting experience just for that, just for me to point out things that were wrong or that I thought were incorrect, and then going back to it as, oh, that all makes 100% sense. This makes all sense in the way that the movie is structured and what's happening. So all these errors were actually just things that were actually good filmmaking or good storytelling in this sense. So the general synopsis, if you don't know, is basically there's a person that's in a medical cryogenic chamber and she has no memory of how she got there. She doesn't know why she's there or how long she's been there, anything whatsoever. She doesn't even know her own name. And it's a very claustrophobic thing. The cryogenic chamber has an AI, and the AI is the only major interaction that she has with anybody in the movie. And then she's trying to figure out why she's there. She's trying to figure out how to get out, and she's trying to figure out how she's going to save herself from the situation, because the AI informs her at the beginning of the movie that she was woken up because she's running out of oxygen. And I think she starts the whole thing with like 35% oxygen left, and that's why she was woken up from cryogenic sleep. So that's it in terms of my review, with no spoilers whatsoever. Now I'm going to talk a little bit about, from this point on, we're going to talk spoilers. So if you don't want to hear any spoilers about the movie, I suggest you stop here, watch the movie, and come back. Now for the spoilerific part of the thing. Started with the spoilers now. So in the whole movie, we have this person that's in a cryogenic chamber, and she's trying to figure out why she's there and everything, right? As we go along, she figures out who she is based using the AI to like track down what she looks like and things like that. Like shows her an image of herself, and she can search using that image, and then she finds out who she is, what her name is, and then based on that, she also calls the police through the cryogenic chamber. I know this cryogenic chamber is very advanced. They can make calls. They can do Google searches. They can do a bunch of things, but it's the only thing that makes sense in the movie. If she couldn't do any of that, there wouldn't be no movie. But basically, so she calls the police. The police figure out who she is. They also try to help her, but we figure out later that they're not trying to help her. They're trying to prevent her from learning anything because she has a connection to the outside world. And then she calls her husband's number, who she remembers little by little. Like as memories start coming in, she starts remembering things like who her husband is, details about her life, who her mother was, things like that. And she tries calling her husband. A woman picks up and immediately hangs up on her and tells her not to call back. And she calls the woman and then calls back the police, and she's like calling these different people, and she figures out the police are lying because the police have a muffled conversation in the background, and she has the AI for the capsule enhance the audio or raise the volume so she could hear what they're saying, and they're basically telling the people who the police officer is talking to is telling the police officer to tell her that she's hearing things, that she's losing her mind.
Raise the volume and play it back.
Tell her she's hearing things.
So basically telling the police officer to lie to her. So she doesn't trust the police anymore. And then when she called her husband's number and the woman picked up and hung up, that woman called back. And that's when we start getting revealed a bunch of the stuff in the movie. She says, you need to trust me. You're not going to believe me while you're there, but you need to trust me. You need to do what I tell you to do, and I can save you. She also gives her the admin codes for the pod, which is why she couldn't open the pod originally. She needed the admin codes to be able to open the pod. And she gave her the admin code, but tells her, don't use the admin code to open the pod because you'll die. So don't do that. But I'm going to give it to you so you can trust me. And she's about to open it, but then decides not to and listens to the woman that called her. And long story short, we discover that she's actually the woman that called her back. When she called her husband's number, that woman that called her back is actually her. And that she's a clone of this woman. And that she was sent out to space to populate another planet. And that's why she doesn't remember who she is. That's why she has no name in the pod. Originally, she has Omicron something something. That's her name.
Hello? What name do you have for patient Omicron 267?
Omicron 267 is registered as Omicron 267.
It's because that's one of the things I pointed out. Like, why would they not label her with her name on it? That's stupid. But they don't label her with her name on it because that's not her. That's not her name. She's Omicron, whatever, because she's a clone. She's not the original model. So it's like, that was something I pointed out, that it was stupid that they wouldn't put the people's name on it, but it actually makes sense. Another thing that doesn't make sense, that I thought was stupid, was the whole amnesia thing. Like, oh, you can get into cryogenic sleep and be saved from medical situation, because that's what she thought originally, that she was sick and that's why she was put on cryogenic sleep. Yeah, they'll save you, but then you lose all your memory. And then she started getting memory as time went on, when she started hurting herself in different situations. And then they explained that that's how they trigger memory in clones, by physical memory. So basically it's like a kinetic memory. Things that she does triggers her memories. And since she's stuck in the cryogenic pod, she can't move around a lot and she can't do a lot of physical things. So her memory is released slower than it would normally be released, because she's so bound, she's so constricted in that environment. So when she hurts herself, she activates certain memories, and that's how she manages to figure everything out little by little. The other thing that explains everything, like why can't they open the pod, because she's in space and she would be in the vacuum of space and die. So all that stuff, and why she needed an admin code, because they don't want her to kill herself. Basically, she's not the person that put herself in it. So when you combine all these things and the whole story like playing out, it's actually really good, and I found it really interesting. And it's 101 minutes, right? And this felt super quick, at least to me. My husband didn't like this movie so much, but he doesn't like these like contained environment movies. He finds it frustrating, but he did like it. He told me at the end he liked the movie, he just doesn't like the concept, or vice versa. He likes the concept, but he doesn't like experiencing it. But I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a really good movie, and I thought the whole thing made sense at the end. And the one thing that was kind of not a cool thing is that I figured out the solution to the problem immediately when I found out that she was in space and that there were other pods. I knew immediately that she was a clone. Okay. And then I knew what solution was, and I yelled it multiple times during the movie. I was like, why don't you steal oxygen from the other pods that are there? Like, if there are 100 pods, they can all give you 1% of their oxygen, and you'll have 100% again. That doesn't make any sense. And that's what she ended up doing at the end. They put her back into hypersleep, and the other pods, some oxygen from other pods were transferred to her, so she was able to survive. And then in the end, we see her with her husband in the new planet. Now, one thing that I kind of skipped over, and I think it's relevant in the sense of why she's in a pod and she's being sent to another planet. But basically, the Earth, there's a virus that's killing everybody on Earth, which is very, very apt to our current situation. And that's why they sent out these clones to another planet. I'm guessing because they're not infected, and almost everybody, if not everybody's infected on Earth. And her husband, they also made like a bunch of different confusing things in the movie regarding her husband, because her husband, some people refer to her husband as a dead, some people refer to her husband as alive, and it's confusing, but it makes sense when you think about it, because her husband died her real husband, but the clone is alive. So that's why some people refer to him as dead and some people refer to him as alive. So yeah, honestly, great movie. Even though it's 101 minutes, it didn't feel like 101 minutes. It felt very fast-paced. When I compare it to a movie that I watched recently, the movie felt infinitely shorter than Thunder Force. Thunder Force felt longer than the Snyder cut of Justice League. This felt short, contained, and I really enjoyed the whole thing. Fantastic. Stop. It felt short, it contained, and it felt really good. And I think the main actress did a fantastic job. Melanie Laurent, she did a fantastic job. I believed her the entire time. The movie's originally in French, and I think that detracts a little bit from it. I don't know about everybody else, but for example, if I watch a movie in a foreign language, it's harder for me to determine whether they're using that language in an effective way, in the sense that, yeah, they're conveying an emotion, but I'm not sure if they're conveying an emotion that would be believable to the people who speak that language, if you understand what I'm saying. So I feel like I'm more lenient with foreign language movies in terms of acting than American movies. But I don't know if that's a common thing or if that's just me in my head being dumb. So anyway, wrapping this up, guys, it was a great movie. I suggest you watch it. It's definitely worth a watch. Honestly, it's one of these movies, and for me at least, it was one of these movies that I thought about it long after the movie ended. I thought about it last night, and I thought about it this morning, and I was compelled to do this video about it. So tell me what you think. If you watched it, did you like it as much as I did? Or was it something that you're not into it, like my husband, not into these whole contained main character movie type things? If there's another movie that you would like me to watch, let me know. Thank you for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye.